Hi, this is Paul. We're coming back with TTM episode number 49. I got 5 returns because I keep, my Battle of Teams returns separate. So I guess I had a good week with the Battle of Teams, and these I had 16 returns. So we've already done a video on the Battle of the Teams. So this is the rest of it. The first one is a 92 Fleer of Dave Hollins. He signed 1 of 1 in 9 days, and he sent me a note saying that he will sign for $10 donation to St. Jude's Hospital. I guess if you just send him the money, he'll donate to St. Jude's, similar to what Joe Seisman does or Seisman does. And but interesting about St. Jude's. Uh, of course, right now, St. Jude's, the head of St. Jude's Hospital is Marlo Thomas, the actress who was married to the late talk show's Phil Donahue. Marlo Thomas was in that show, That Girl, back in the 60s and 70s. And more recently, which is still like 30 years ago, she played Jennifer Aniston's mother in Friends. But Marlo Thomas' father, Danny Thomas, was the founder of St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And he's tied into sports because Danny Thomas, along with Joe Robbie, were the original owners of the Miami Dolphins when they were an expansion team, I believe, in 1966. Eventually, and they were the ones that came up with the idea of having Flipper in the end zone. And eventually, Danny Thomas sold his stake in the Dolphins, and then it was just Joe Robbie. And then obviously Joe Robbie sold it to Wayne Huizenga, who owned the Marlins and the Panthers, and so all that good stuff. So there is sort of a tie-in with St. Jude's to sports. A lot of athletes, Michael Strahan, are big contributors to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So next time I send to Mr. Hollins, I will enclose a donation, but he was still nice enough to sign the card. So the next one is a 1-on-1 in 9 days from Matt Barr on this 89 Topps with the Cleveland Browns. Matt Barr just started signing. There are individuals, I think Chris and Chris collecting cards that waited like 11, 12 years to get him back. It looks like now he's signing regularly, but only send him one. He's not going to do more than one. Okay, he may have done multiples for the people that had to wait 12 years. I don't think he even did that, but just send one to Matt Barr and don't like bombard him, wait like 6 months or whatever, okay, because he could go back to his old routine and not sign at all. So the next one is a 1-on-1 in 23 days on this 93 Doman of Chris Holt. And unfortunately, he used a black Sharpie on a black jersey. I kind of held off sending it, and I guess he didn't want to sign it across his face. I would rather just sign it on the back, but you can hardly see the signature. He used a blue Sharpie. You can see traces over the A and the T. That's why I hate when they take baseball card photos with the black dark jerseys. Unless the guy has a silver Sharpie, you're not going to get a good pop on it. So, all right, the next one is a 2-2 in 136 days from the actor Craig T. Nelson. He signed the Orlando Breakers logo photo ×2. I guess I made the mistake of asking for inscriptions. I asked for 2 separate inscriptions. He didn't do it. So I have 2 of these Orlando Breakers photos. So to elaborate, in case anybody doesn't remember the series coach with Craig T. Nelson, Shelley Fabares played his eventual wife, Christine Armstrong, and Shelley Fabares, back in 1971, played Joy Piccolo in Brian's song. It was Brian Piccolo's wife. So she's kind of tied into sports. But the Orlando Breakers was a fictional NFL team. When Coach started, Craig T. Nelson was Hayden Fox was the coach of Minnesota State University, And then, like a lot of coaches, he decided to go to the NFL. The owner of the team, it was kind of similar to uh, Frontier on the Rams. Uh, I believe the actress's name was Catherine Hellman, who actually played in Soap, and she also played in Who's the Boss with Tony Danza. And Tony Danza in Who's the Boss, his character actually uh, played Major League Baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals. So there's another sports tie-in. But she was the owner of the Orlando Breakers, and Hayden Fox took on the job as head coach of the Orlando Breakers. They're a fictional NFL team. They don't exist, but there is a logo, and I made logo photos out of it. And also, his two assistant coaches were Dauber, played by Bill Fagerbeek. I guess that's how you pronounce it, who I believe does TTM. I could send these out to him. Right now, Bill Fagerbeek plays the voice of Patrick Star for SpongeBob SquarePants. And I'll give a little shout out to this baby because I believe, and this infant, I believe they do watch SpongeBob SquarePants. I may have heard that in the background when this guy was doing a video. I don't know, but nevertheless, Bill Fagerbeek is the voice of Patrick Star. Okay, he was an assistant coach. I don't know if he was actually an offensive coordinator. I think he was called an offensive assistant. Luther Van Dam, played by the late Jerry Van Dyke, Dick Van Dyke's brother, was the defensive coordinator. But what's interesting about Jerry Van Dyke's character, Luther Van Dam, in college, and I can't remember, it was a fictional college. He becomes the head coach. He leaves Minnesota State, and he becomes the head coach. But what he decides to do, Luther, is take the entire team, his college football team. Again, I can't remember the name. You can look it up. He decides to take them to dinner, and he gets sanctioned by the NCAA for violating NCAA rules, because back then players could not take freebies, which was a true rule. So he ends up going back to Minnesota State and goes back to, I guess it was just meant to be. That's kind of how they wrote the script, that he would become a head coach. And I don't know whether the intention was for him to be a head coach and do a spinoff or what. I don't know. But he ends up going back to working for Hayden Fox, and that's kind of how that goes. But but that's the story on that. And the last one is a 3-3 in 56 days from Joe Slazarski on the 92 Fleer. He signed the 92 Fleer checklist. Okay, it was also signed by Steve Farr. I believe that's his yeah, that's him. That's Joe Slazarski. But Steve Farr also signed it there, but Steve Farr signed it on the wrong side. Steve Farr should have signed it on this side by the Yankees. And then it was also signed by Hansley Mullins, who signed it on the right side, Bam Bam. But Bam Bam is no longer the batting coach for the Colorado Rockies. They dismissed him. And then Joe Slazarski signed the Oakland A's logo photo in kind of a dried out pen. So other than that, that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. And we'll have a nice weekend, and we'll talk to everybody later.